This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two Syracuse sports reporters with a baseball podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We're here to talk about some Mets baseball. There were some peaks, there were some valleys this week. But first, wanted to put you guys on blast about one thing that Ashley's going to tell you guys right now.
That makes it sound like it's negative. I feel like putting them on blast.
She's quitting.
No, this week I'm out. See y'all. No, that's a joke. Yes, this weekend we were lucky enough to attend the Syracuse Press Club Awards, where we earned an honorable mention nomination for Best Sports Show. To be fair, we were in the sports show category with sort of all the other visual productions like TV shows, other things like that. We were not in the best sports audio show, so whether you consider this, it's honestly we should have been in the other category, to be honest. But we are still very grateful for the opportunity. We got to go accept the award. It was a lovely time here in Syracuse, New York. So thank you guys so much just for listening to us and hopefully liking, commenting, and subscribing. The road to 10,000 is a long one, but we remain down the path. We are still going.
We remain hopeful at this time.
We fight on. Just so you all know, all right, already immediate tangent. Syracuse women's basketball head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack, she is a wonderful lady, a true delight if you are interested in women's college basketball. One of her big phrases is "we fight on." And we use that a lot. Like, we are fighting on every single day, to be honest.
We will, just text each other at any given time saying we fight on.
We fight on.
Have even sent a couple of photos just of FLJ because the meaning is understood. If I send you a photo of FLJ, I'm fighting on right now.
We are fighting on.
Yeah, but genuinely totally agree. Lovely woman, great phrase,
She's
good
great.
Tangent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for... Honestly, though, thank you guys, because that's the first award that we ever won for this podcast.
For this podcast.
So that was actually pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about the Mets now. They, have come back down to earth since the last time that we spoke. They lost 2 out of 3 to the D-backs. They won the first game against St. Louis. They were rained out on Saturday. And then Sunday, there was a doubleheader that really... You know how some days you're the hammer and some days you're the nail?
Oh, boy.
You do. Yeah. You do? Nail day. It was a nail day.
They were the nails. Sorry, that just really made me laugh, that expression. Sometimes, I genuinely just laugh at whatever you're saying.
Yep. So it was like that, but it's okay. They are now 22-13 overall. They are still sitting at the top of the NL East with a 2.5 game lead over the Phillies. So I think perspective here is a word I'd bring up as something that's important to keep.
Sometimes it's the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
Keep some
Sunday
perspective.
Really was a disaster class. I'm not going to lie. Ugly day for the Mets.
Oh
Just
my God.
Overall bad. We'll get into it. We're going to recap the doubleheader because that does seem like one of the most pertinent things that's happened to them. Sort of just a bad day overall. Lost 2 series for the first time this season. Lose 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks. Lose 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals. What can you do? We fight on. We start another series with the Diamondbacks tonight, Monday night at about 9:40. They're out on the West Coast. So we'll see how that goes. But let's recap Sunday's doubleheader disaster class. First of all, game 1, they lose 6-5. Blade Tidwell gets called up from Syracuse. I know we were excited to see that. And he just honestly kind of gets smoked.
Yeah, 3 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, and he threw 82 pitches. Listen, I don't think I feel like this happens sometimes.
This can happen.
This can happen. They come up for a big moment. They're showing, the kid's dad and the kid's mom and the
Blade
kid's
is
family.
just out there getting shelled.
Absolutely shelled.
Rocked.
Doesn't mean that it's okay. That's all right. And there will be other chances for Blade Tidwell.
Yeah.
But that led to a 6-5 loss. And just again, it's been losses. It's been upsetting losses. And I think I'm not saying I prefer a 6-1 loss. I'm not. So everybody calm down. But obviously 6-5. It's been so many of these games that they're losing by like 1 run.
Yeah.
It's kind of just heart-wrenching, to be honest.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
The 1-run losses really have been atrocious. It felt like sort of all season that the Mets, they get the big hit. Whenever they need the big hit, they get the big hit. This week and this past weekend and doubleheader especially, not getting the big hit, and that can happen. So Tidwell, I mean, he wasn't awful. I actually thought in the first few innings he sort of pitched in and out of trouble kind of well. He was dealing with some traffic on the base paths because he was, surrendering hits and walking guys and whatnot. He handled that well until the 4th when the floodgates sort of opened for the Cardinals. He really didn't do well, like when he got ahead in the count, he sort of lost control. There were some control issues in there. So it is what it is. It's the guy's first time ever. He's probably nervous. Like, I'm not going to, send Blade Tidwell to the Wolves right now because he had 1 bad start in St. Louis on very little notice.
Yeah, no. They are going to send him back to Syracuse, though, and promptly.
No, right after that game 1.
Yeah.
Blade, you're out.
Which was to be expected, according to Anthony DiComo. Daniel Nunez was back. And it was prompt, I guess is the only way to describe it. But still, spot start, obviously good, hopefully at least memorable moment for him, something that he can, keep and take. And I actually did I feel like he had a pretty just mature mindset in some of the stuff I was listening to in the post game. I think these pitchers know, it's just going to take a minute to settle in. The point is they lost that game. And then in game 2, again, another 1-run loss, 5-4. This time it was Tyler Megill. Not one of his better starts this season, and he's really been doing well.
Yeah, first real clunker of the year for our old friend Tylor. 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. That is the most earned runs that he has allowed in a game this year. It wasn't all Tylor. There was also just some terrible luck. Juan Soto had a 3-run home run that was reeled back in by the outfielder. The 3-run homer that wasn't. Nimmo had a scorcher hit on a diving catch. So you sort of get the idea. It was not the Mets' day on Sunday. They did not get 2 good starts. Can't undermine that. I just saw a lot of the fan sort of reaction to the doubleheader online was, they're not hitting with runners in scoring position, which they're not a lot of the times. They're not coming through with that big hit.
I do believe that to be a problem.
They're sort of all around the map. But I would just like to say in yesterday's doubleheader, it was the starting pitching that failed them, right? You go out there, Tidwell gives up 6 runs, Tylor gives up 4 runs, which turns into 5. They weren't really put in a position to win either of those games due to the starting pitching. That's not a spot they've been in a lot this year. I wouldn't say this is a team that I think knows how to fight back, but I wouldn't say this is a team that's had to scratch and claw because there's 5-6 runs being given up every night. That has not been the case. The pitching has been money. So all I wanted to say was I think you have 2 games in the span of a very tight day. You rained out on Saturday. You have to call up Blade Tidwell, flying across the country. They didn't have their best stuff. It's unfortunate. I chalk sort of both of those losses up to Tidwell and Megill really not having great starts. You move on.
I sort of see it from both sides. I do feel like a part of it is the pitching. I also do feel like you do have to score with runners in scoring position. There's a little bit of this and a little bit of that going on. But to your point, yes, the pitching was better than what we've seen. It was sort of a wonky situation with Tidwell being thrown in there. And maybe some of you can find it in your hearts to feel inspired by a 1-run loss because it does mean that these games are being kept really close. And I was trying to find the stat. I can't right now, but if I can later on in the episode, I'll say it. But it was something from, do you remember that guy's name from John Boy who runs the Mets accounts? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know John Boy, but I don't know his name.
Yeah, there's a guy who specifically does Mets for John Boy, and he tweeted something out recently, and it was essentially just talking about how many runs the Mets had scored in maybe the past 5 or 6 games versus their opponents.
Guy.
That's him.
Yeah,
Jolly Olive, and he was essentially just saying the runs. It was so close.
The run differential,
very close.
It's become tighter, but that's actually been one of the Mets' strengths this season. I think they have a great run differential in terms of the scope of all of baseball. So yeah, the runners in scoring position has been brutal the last couple games. I'm not going to lie. You feel like there's a lot of moments where they're not coming through, especially that top of the order, top of the lineup, Soto, Lindor, Alonso, guys you want to be coming through. At the same time, in the doubleheader yesterday, they still scored 9 runs. Not like it's an offer out there. So to me, I'm more looking at the pitching.
I have something else that I want to say, just because I don't want to skip over it. That almost homer. That is classic Mets. It's almost that's the kind of stuff that you need to prepare for once you become a Mets player. Because if Juan Soto hit that, but he was a Yankee, it's just it's the wind would have blown it over.
Right.
Like that, like you
The
have
outfielder
to,
would have tripped.
right. Like like something would have happened and it would have gone the Yankees' way. When you're a Met, you need to prep for things like that. You need to hit it 5 feet more,
Right.
just in case you have bad luck.
Right.
But it was a classic. Like, damn, like that is the Mets. It really was. It was a 3-run homer, but it wasn't. It was not.
3-run homer, that was not.
That was not.
You hate to see
so there
it.
was some bad luck. I'm not saying you can't chalk it up to that every single night, but I think sometimes you have to look at something and when it truly is bad luck or a really great play and just kind of maybe look at that as it is.
Definitely.
Speaking of bad luck, Jesse Winker to the IL. And correct me if I'm wrong, 10-day?
Yes.
Okay. He felt something tweak in his side. It was his oblique on a throw to home in the 3rd inning of game 1. It was, I mean, listen, you all know how we feel about Jesse Winker. That's just really unfortunate.
Yeah. Again, another Mets gonna Met unfortunate thing. That was the first time that he started in the corner outfield this season. So that's awesome. It's like first time out in the outfield, Jesse. All right, the first ball hits you, 3rd inning. Great. You're gonna throw out your oblique. Awesome. Anyway, probably means more playing time in the interim for Azokar, and they'll probably shift some stuff around, which we'll talk about in a second, in terms of the DH situation, who they're gonna play where. But they announced before today's game on Monday that it is only the 10-day IL, so I know he's going to go back to New York for some testing and whatnot, but that does make me hopeful that this will not be a prolonged stint for Jesse Winker.
Completely agree. Not going to freak out over 10 days. I did find it, and I just have to read it because I thought this was so fascinating. This is Jolly Olive, works for John Boy, does the Mets.
I love olives.
Yeah, I'm sure. He said the Mets have gone 4-6 in their last 10 games. 5 of those 6 losses came by 1 run. The Mets scored 23 runs to 22 runs allowed in their last 5 games. They went 1-4 in that span.
Interesting.
It's just like that's just painful.
Yeah.
It's just like it hurts.
Yeah.
But like I said, maybe it's also encouraging. Either way, if you are going to be that close, then we're going to need to see more wins and they're going to have to pull them out.
Definitely.
All that to say, Brett Baty is back.
All
and I'm
that
moving
to
on to the
say,
next topic.
Brett's back.
All
Guess
that to
who's
say
back?
the Tahoe is
Back
not in Syracuse
again.
anymore.
Brett's back. Tell a friend. Brett's back.
No, it's so true.
Brett was not down here for long. Nobody saw the Tahoe, just so you're all, I know we have to give a Tahoe report every single time. Nobody saw the Tahoe.
But we
Nobody
will.
saw Brett because, in fact, I actually attended a Syracuse Mets game in the last week that Brett was down here. And he was not playing for a few days because his big toe hurt. And I would like to go out on a limb and say that I feel like his big toe probably feels better now.
I'm feeling like if it's not, you're going to have to get it there because it's time to go.
I feel like the big toe's fine upon call up to New
Sure,
York.
sure.
Anyways, he is back because of Winker's move to the IL. Of course, you've heard us say the whole 9 yards before. Kind of seems like his last chance before the trade deadline. If Winker actually does come back 10 days from now, does Baty get sent down again? Who's to say? I did go down a deep dive rabbit hole today. I saw some people on social media talking about, is Brett Baty out of options after this? Can the Mets send him down again after this? And the answer is yes, they can, because I am not well versed in it enough to explain it thoroughly, but basically Baty already used it's option years. Like he got his one for the year. So if the Mets send him back down, it all depends on how long they've been on the 40-man roster. And Brett actually has not been on the 40-man roster as long as you may have thought. A guy like Jose Buto, who is now out of options, that all had to do with the fact that the Mets had him on the 40-man for a much longer time. So he is now out of options. Brett, I guess, has the one for the year, so he can still go back up and down prior to the trade deadline. And you all know that we think that Brett could certainly be in play at the trade deadline. But before that, now he gets his chance to maybe play again. I know it'll be interesting to sort of see what they do defensively. I think the Mets have options now, right? Jesse Winker, I would say, is much more favorable to have in your lineup at DH. I like the lineup a lot more when Winker's in it. But if Winker can't be in it, it's almost gives you more flexibility defensively, right? Maybe Acuna can play a little bit of third base. You saw Acuna make a really nice play yesterday in for Vientos at third base. Maybe Vientos DHs a little bit more. Marte, it'll be interesting to see what Mendoza does there because I really feel like he does not like to put Marte out in the field. We know all of his knee, leg situations. I feel like he likes to DH Starling Marte more than anything. Maybe he moves around McNeil. Maybe Acuna sees a start in center field. He played a little center field in the minors. So it just gives them some flexibility. And now with Brett back up, maybe he slots in at third or second when they're moving around some of those other guys.
I'm going to push back on one part of that. I don't want to see Acuna in center field. I actually don't even really want to see him at third base. I like him where he's playing now. He is good as a second baseman. He's really good. And I feel like the defense that he has been putting on display, even in like the last few games, like he's just a shining star. He's a really good player. If anything, I'd almost rather see, like, why doesn't Brett Baty get some reps at third base? Honestly, like that's where he feels most comfortable playing. He looked like a giraffe out of the zoo at second base. Like it didn't seem like it was like, where was the zookeeper? It wasn't the right fit. Like he just looked totally out of place.
Brett Baty does not have a zookeeper. That's just we've established that.
I don't know. I mean, Mark Vientos, he's like okay right now, but I don't know. I'd actually rather see him subbing in there,
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, Jeff McNeil, to use your word, I'm really never tantalized by. So if we need to see some substitutions happening there, I'm fine with that. But I'm a big advocate of let's keep Acuna where he's at, because we got a good thing going on right now.
I'm an advocate of not necessarily moving him to the outfield, and I would be surprised, like maybe they try it out for a game or two. I don't think Acuna has any real future in center field for the Mets. I liked what I saw from him at third base yesterday. I thought there was like this little slow roller, chopper, dribbler situation that he handled throughout the runner. I was like, Mark Vientos is not making that play. That's a different topic, because I think it'll be interesting to see what the Mets do with Vientos at third in the future as a whole, because we've talked about it. He's not exactly a defensive wizard. He's been holding his own, but he's not going to win a Gold Glove at third base. So as Vientos' career continues to like develop and whatnot and so forth, it'll be interesting to see if he gets a little more time at DH or really what they do with him in terms of the field. But I love Luis Angel Acuna and what he's been able to bring to this team. I can't even believe now. It seems outrageous that we were sitting here in the end of March, beginning of April, being like, well, Baty or Acuna. Like, I mean, Acuna's stock has skyrocketed so much further than Baty's has.
It's like night and day compared to what we had been previously talking about. It's not even a debate. It's not even something you need to discuss anymore. And honestly, that feels like bad news for Baty.
Yeah, it does. I was reminded today also that the Mets got Acuna in the trade for a washed-up Max Scherzer.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing better when it's just a really, really good trade.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like that with it, like, or even just a good move, a good chess move to Renz. I feel like is a good example of that.
Yeah.
Just masterclass kind of stuff.
I feel like we're sort of starting to see Acuna blossom a little bit. Like he's actually been given his playing time. He's been on the team since the beginning of the year. He's been given reps at multiple positions. Like I feel like we are starting to see the actual real good version of Luis Angel Acuna.
And listen, I think it goes to show this is not always true. Sometimes you need to be a master of one thing, but I think Acuna sort of is a jack of all trades, and you start to see how important that really is for certain positions, especially when there are some positions on that baseball field within that lineup on the Mets team that are just already established, and these are players who are going to be playing every single day, like Alonso and like Lindor. I think it almost really did help Acuna and work in his favor that there were just so many different things that he was good at and could bring to the table on any given night, whether that was his base running or his ability to defend, whatever it is. I just felt like there were a lot of things he brought to the table, and he performed well pretty much in any position they put him in.
Yeah.
You could not say the same thing about Brett Baty.
Yeah.
There was pressure, and there was how's his mentality, and there was he's okay in this position, but he's better here. I think versatility won out in this situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the Mets have such a valuable asset now in Acuna, right? Defensively, on the base paths, subbing him in the whole 9 yards. I think it will be interesting to see how they continue to sort of utilize him, because even on a night like tonight, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, like, I see the lineup come out tonight for tonight's game against the Diamondbacks, and it's McNeil at second base. Acuna's not in there, and I'm sort of like, damn, I wish Acuna was in the lineup. I wish you just like what he brings to the table so comprehensively. And you know that this podcast is not the biggest advocate of Jeff McNeil, so let's not act like we're not biased. But I just see the lineup, and I'm like, damn, I wish Acuna was in it. That's all.
But I also think, just to almost support you in that statement, it's kind of like rightfully so. I don't think we're the only. I don't think that's a hot take to say.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people are just really liking Acuna and what he's able to bring.
I agree.
It is worth mentioning, just so you know, Brett Baty obviously coming back up. When he was in Syracuse for the short time he was obviously shmoney. No,
you're right.
His toe, but when his toe didn't hurt, he was scorching the ball.
Yeah.
He was murdering it, and he was playing great.
There were home runs, there were RBIs.
There were all kinds of good things.
Yeah.
But if you are too good to play in Syracuse and you are not good enough to play in the major leagues, then where exactly are you? In no man's land. So we got to figure it out.
Quadruple-A battery.
Yep. Oh, my God. I forgot that was a saying.
Go back to the batteries.
Wait, that is perfect. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was such a impactful insult.
Sorry, my bad.
Danny Young is also out for the year with Tommy John. Again, another tough blow. This happens. Injuries happen. But it was a womp, 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 for lack of a better word.
Yeah, sort of a tough week as a whole in Mets fan, right? The Winker injury, these 2 injuries in the bullpen, they're losing.
Winkler.
Tough. No, don't even, not Jesse Winkler, not today. Danny Young out for the year. He has to get Tommy John. He sort of felt this elbow tightness, elbow tweak after the Mets' last loss to the Diamondbacks at the end of that series last week. Mendoza did confirm today that it was recommended he will be getting Tommy John surgery, so we will not see him until maybe the second half next year at some point. I don't know. Tommy John takes forever. But really just unfortunate to the Mets in terms of a bullpen perspective, because now you lose Danny Young. Earlier last week, A.J. Minter went on the IL with a significant latch strain. He's considering season-ending surgery.
That's
Those
horrible.
were your 2 top lefties in the bullpen. There were a couple games last week where the New York Mets did not have a lefty available at all. There was no lefties. You want to get the guy in the seats who's a lefty who can throw better than any other option they had.
Yep.
So now that leaves you in a situation they've called up. They've called up Genesis Cabrera. They do have a lefty. Lefty has been found, but I would certainly think they will be hitting the lefty relief arm market. David Stearns just picked up his shopping cart.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think just to have as you put it on your notes, lone lefty is feeling a little too alone. It's feeling like he could use a friend.
What do you mean at least there's one?
That's even just that quote, at least there's one.
Not good.
Not interested in
Not
that.
good.
Yeah, AJ Minter, that's a hit. He was really, really cooking to start the year. So that is brutal, but that is the situation. You also put some other options here. Hello, Sean Reed Foley, are you available? He is a righty, but that is somebody who you put down. 4.10 ERA in Syracuse. What do you think about him?
I've been to a couple Syracuse Mets games where he's actually pitched well, so that's probably skewed my perspective of him. I'm honestly surprised he's lasted down here as long as he has to start this season. Sort of felt like he'd be back up in New York a little quicker. I guess he is not a lefty, and they need a lefty right now. So it certainly goes without saying that in the absence of Minter, who is definitely eating some innings to start this year, they are going to be relying a lot more on Kranick, on Reed Garrett, and on Brazoban to some degree in that sort of setup role situation. Also, we all thought Edwin Diaz was dead last week. There was no Edwin Diaz for 8 days. Everybody was like, is he alive? He's been found. He's been spotted. He's alive and well. But yeah, Reed Foley's an option. They just signed Brooks Raley again last week. He's supposed to be back in mid to late June. He got Tommy John, missed all of last year. He is coming towards the end of that recovery. He is a lefty, so that could be a tantalizing option, but again, not really till next month. He's also 36, which I didn't know until today, a little bit older than I thought. Somebody else who's 36 includes Joe Kelly. That is a free agent that I feel like maybe could be on David Stern's short list, pitched for the Dodgers for a while, 3.98 career ERA. Definitely a guy who can need some innings for you, a veteran guy. He is a righty and not a lefty, but if we're just looking for any bullpen bolstering, maybe Joe Kelly is a guy you call up. And I just have to say it, just to get ahead of it, please, nobody, if I hear the name Adam Ottavino in a conversation that involves the Mets, I'm going to lose my mind.
She's going to get very upset. You don't want to upset her right now.
No, lose it. No Adam Ottavino, please. That's all I ask.
It will lead to a crash out.
I don't ask for a lot. Thank you.
I see here you have for Kelly's stats 839 innings pitched across 13 seasons.
Yeah, he's a
That's
workhorse.
Insane.
He is a workhorse. Joe Kelly pops up.
That is an established person right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Some other good news while we have you here.
Sure.
Some April honors. NL Rookie of the Month and Player of the Month, both Mets players, Acuna and Pete Alonso, and for well-deserved reasons at that.
Yeah, we were just talking about Luis Angel. He was the NL Rookie of the Month, so really can't dispute that. Among all NL rookies in April, he was second in games played, third in at-bats, third in hits, third in doubles, second in average, and third in on-base percentage. So that shows me not only has he been holding his own, but he's also been getting a lot of playing time if he's second in games played in terms of all NL rookies. So love to see that. And of course, then you had Petey, which was much deserved for Pete.
Petey batting .343 with 7 home runs, 11 doubles, and 28 RBI across 31 games, 137 plate appearances during that time, 13 multi-hit games. At some point, you have to appreciate when somebody is truly on a run.
Yeah.
Like every time he's up there, I am excited to see what he's going to do at the plate. He is just hot.
Yeah.
He is just playing like somebody who wants to be a Met for freaking life, and
Wants to
I
get
love
paid.
it.
Yeah.
He wants dude, he has a baby on the way.
Listen, he's got a kid on the way. He wants that money coming down the line. Yeah, it's sort of like it's like Linsanity. Not obviously to that degree, but it's like Pete Sanity lately in Queens.
Wow, a Linsanity reference. It's been a long time since those times.
Shout out to the New York Post.
Yep.
Anyways, so yeah, we mentioned it. Series against the Diamondbacks starting tonight, 9:40. I love West Coast games. I am so excited. Everybody knows that is my witching hour time to watch the Mets. So while you all may be asleep, I will be watching.
We'll be here.
We will be here. We'll actually still be at work. Off on Thursday, and then they come home for 3 with the Cubs, who have been really good to start the year, and 3 with the Pirates. The Diamondbacks, by the way, have sort of sucked. They're 4-7 over their last 11 games, but 2 of those wins came against the New York Mets. So we'll see what they're able to do.
They kind of sucked until they were playing against the Mets. I feel like you do see tweets like that sometimes. Is that what you were going to say or no?
No, I was going to say no Corbin Burns this series, so that should help the Mets to some degree. No Corbin.
Okay. Like, I feel like I'll see that where I saw this on Twitter the other day. I just thought it was funny. It was some really good play in I don't know, a game that was recently. I'm sure you've seen this. I cannot remember the guy's name, nor can I remember the team. I'm really sorry about that. But it was a guy who essentially made a play in the outfield where he slipped and then he caught the ball behind his back. Do you happen to know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Anyway, somebody quote tweeted that and said the Colorado Rockies when they're playing against the Mets on a random Tuesday night.
No, literally.
And I feel like that's so true. Anyway, okay, last but not least, down on the farm, we also have the Mets calling up the number 5 prospect, right-handed pitcher Nolan McLean, up from Triple-A Syracuse. I'm sorry, up to Triple-A Syracuse from Double-A. My fault. This is somebody who has had a very interesting kind of rise here and somebody to keep your eyes on for sure.
Yeah, McLean definitely been getting some headlines in the Mets farm system. I was unaware just how fast his rise through the system has been. He was only drafted in 2023 out of Oklahoma State, but the Mets drafted him as a two-way player, and he actually only started focusing on only pitching a year ago.
Weird.
1 year ago, and now he's facing Triple-A hitters. So he's only 23. He was absolutely lighting it up in Binghamton. He had a 1.37 ERA with 30 strikeouts in 26 1/3 innings to start the year. He has a fastball in the mid-high 90s, but his standout pitch that he's sort of known for is this slider, which some are saying could be among the best when he gets called up. He also has a cutter, changeup, and a curveball. But I'm excited to see McLean kind of slot into that rotation. All of a sudden, by the way, very, very quickly, we have this like very interesting starting rotation in Syracuse between Sproat, between Tidwell. Now you got McLean, Dom Hamill's in there, and I don't know who the 5th guy is off the top of my head right now. But all of a sudden, like the starting options in Syracuse are actually quite intriguing.
I completely agree. You also have listed here that McLean has yet to allow a home run this season. I think sometimes you just have to see impressive as impressive, no matter the level. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think everybody kind of understands this at this point from the amount that we discuss it. But like Triple-A Syracuse, Triple-A in general is such a weird place to be in, a weird time, and it is hard to tell sometimes who's good and who's not, if that makes sense. Like I feel like there are times where I look up the score of the Syracuse Mets game and it was like we won today 18-15. I'm like, what?
Triple-A baseball is a time to be alive, but
there will be like games with 30 runs.
I know. It is really genuinely crazy. They also have like the weirdest schedule. They play doubleheaders half the time. It's honestly a lot. But
they have Dollar Thursdays, and that's the greatest invention in baseball.
No.
$1 fountain
greatest
drinks,
show on dirt. Jason's Moral will tell you.
$2 hot dogs and $3 beers or ciders. Don't come at me. There are very few places you can have a good time for $10 or less in this economy.
No, in this economy, I can't even say enough about Dollar Thursdays at the Syracuse Mets, particularly if you're us and the Dollar Thursdays at the Syracuse Mets are actually free.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why I'm capitalizing on Dollar Thursdays.
Do we have anything else to say that's relevant right now?
That's it. But make sure to hit up your local Dollar Thursdays. Let's go Mets.
Go to Dollar Thursdays. Your Triple-A team needs you. Thanks so much for being here. Let's go Mets. We'll see you back here when the next big thing happens. Thanks for joining us.